We have taken the country into confidence about the movement into Dubai through the presidents and cabinet ministers. We have also spoken about offshore accounts as well as related state corruption that benefits the Gupta family in entities like Transnet, Eskom, SAA, and DNN. All what we have been saying is now supported by hardcore evidence that is available for anyone to see. Any of the cabinet ministers who is implicated and feels that these emails are fake should have challenged them through the courts or press ombudsman by now. However, we can guarantee you all that none of them will do so because these emails and their contents are authentic. Last week, Zuma once again lied to Parliament and the people of South Africa by claiming that he is not opposed to the commission of inquiry into the state capture by the Guptas. According to the binding remedial actions of the public protector, Zuma was supposed to appoint a commission within 30 days in December 2016. The only reason that was not done is because Zuma instituted a review application in the Pretoria High Court, which is now scheduled to be heard from the 24th October 2017. With the revelations of the emails, it is clear that the October is too far. Accordingly, we have instructed our lawyers this morning to send a letter to Zuma demanding that in the next few days he should withdraw his review application so that South Africa can know the truth without his delaying tactics and endless appeal like in the case of the spy tape saga. If he does not withdraw, then he must agree that all the parties approach the judge president for the hearing to be brought forward to within a month from now. That is to an agreed date by July. Should he fail to accept our demand, then the EFF will have no option but to approach the court for an early date on the grounds that the matter has now become urgent and South Africans can no longer afford to wait for another 5 months plus endless appeals. We believe that at the core of the emails and Gupta leaks is evidence that those who run government today have betrayed their country and facilitated a coup by handing over constitutional decision-making powers to a foreign family. In a normal democracy, this unpatriotic betrayal is tantamount or even worse than treason. We call on all genuine and freedom-loving South Africans to take a hard look at the evidence and to realize that the organization of Lituli, Tambo, Mandela, and Hani has been hijacked by criminal mafia gang led by Jacob Zuma. South Africa has been stolen right in front of our eyes. Any person who votes for the ANC knowing about criminal activities, which will also be making themselves accomplices in the crimes of high treason being committed by Zuma and his gang of criminals. We urge all patriotic South Africans to support this call by the EFF by any lawful means necessary, including taking to the streets. This week, Stats SA reported that the real gross domestic product has decreased by 0.7% in the first quarter of 2017, following a decrease of 0.3% in the fourth quarter of 2016, thus leading to a recession. This depressing state of affairs is due to the negligence of the ruling party in that men and women who lead us in this country are preoccupied with looting the country's coffers to make themselves richer than to uplift the living condition of our people by stabilizing the economy. This recession means our economy is shrinking, in particular the manufacturing sector. A recession means the government will not have enough money to pay social grants, pensions for the elderly, build RDP houses, fund free education and health care. It means it will not have enough money to continue paying for jobs in the public sector, including EPWP. Increasingly, more people will lose their jobs as firms and factories continue to shut down or downsize. The youth, majority of which are already unemployed, will suffer the most because when firms take decisions to retrench, they often start with the less experienced, which are often young people. We are in this state of affairs also because the ANC refused to accept that the ideological tenets of its microeconomic strategy since 1994 fails to lead to sustainable growth and deal with inequality and poverty. The solution is to look into the tried and tested policy proposals that we have been speaking about. Protection of infant industries through a different tariff regime, nationalization of banks to have control on business funding and amounts that actually get given to small, in particular, black businesses. Nationalization of mines as well as expropriation of land without compensation, with a sound agrarian plan to stimulate local food production. With the ANC in government, which is only interested in corruption, Dubai trips, offshore accounts, stealing billions of taxpayers' money, will degenerate further into a depression. Our country's gender relations have yet again come to the center of public discourse, with reports of more cases of women abuse, rape, and murder. These reports should not mislead us into thinking that there is an outbreak of violence, rape, and murder against women. The reality is that we are talking about a normalized war which has been unfolding for many years against women in general and the girl child in particular. South Africa is a patriarchal society in which toxic and violent ways of being a man are celebrated and promoted. The culture of treating women as though they are a property, a possession or objects of sexual pleasure for men has been at the center of sustaining this violence, rape, and murder of women. Women and girl children are no longer safe anywhere. They face the same dangers from their fathers, brothers, husbands, and partners as they do from strangers on the streets. As a society, we must uproot this culture by ensuring that first, we support each and every victim of rape and women abuse, particularly poor, rural women with no access to social media. We must rebuild police stations by immediately ensuring that all the cops who ignore and ridicule cases of women abuse, rape, must be exposed, charged, and ultimately imprisoned for defeating the ends of justice. All of us, everywhere where we are, we must educate ourselves, in particular as men, of progressive feminist values and challenge patriarchy from religious spaces as well as within political movements. The struggle against patriarchy for men is about self-destruction. Men must self-destruct from patriarchal chains that have turned them into monsters of rape, sexism, and heartless murder and abuse of women. We want to express our solidarity with the people of Cape Town and other areas hit by the storm and wildfires. We express solidarity to the poor and the landless masses who during such natural disasters face the worst risk of destruction and death. The storm must be a reminder that the land must be redistributed to the benefit of the poor. Now, having read this formal statement of the EFF, we just want to also take you into confidence about what we have discovered in Transnet. It has been brought to our attention that there was a tender issued in Transnet for procurement of 1,064 new locomotives on the 23rd July 2012, closing date 16 October 2012, broken down as follows. RFP number TFRAC HO8608, 599 new dual voltage electric locomotives for the general freight business. The other one, RFP number TFRAC HO8609, 465 diesel locomotives for the general freight business. Timelines: December 2010, Public Enterprise Malusi Gigaba appoints Iqbal Sharma to Transnet Board. Mafika Mkhwanazi is made the chairman after Gigaba fails to convince cabinet to make Iqbal Sharma a chairman. February 2011, Brian Molefe and Arno C appointed on the Transnet board. Gary Peter is Group Chief Supply Chain Officer. 2011, Transnet board creates a new committee, Board Acquisition and Disposal Committee, and makes Iqbal Sharma chairman. Iqbal Sharma is the fellow who failed to become the chairman of the Transnet board. Now they create a special committee for him called Board Acquisition and Disposal Committee. And then this committee specifically is tasked to control all the tenders above 2.5 billion. July 2012, Transnet issues out tender of the locomotives, as we said. Tender submissions closes. Transnet Special Board of Directors meeting approves the recommendations of the acquisition of 599 electrical locomotives, locomotives of two successful bidders. Bombardier and Bombardier is bidder number 1, and bidder number 2 is China South, on 42 Bombardier and 62 China South bases. Pose the evaluation process for the negotiations and award of business, subject to further endorsement by the board acquisition and disposal. Pose the negotiation process, a bizarre decision from the main board. How can a board empower a board subcommittee to a final approve an award running into billions? I see Mr. Mbuiseni just took a decision to disrupt my press conference, and it's unacceptable. Now, Transnet Board of Directors meeting approved the recommendations of the acquisition of 465 diesel locomotives, and then agree that this bid must be shared 50-50 between the bidder number 1, China North Rail, and bidder number 4, General Electric. Now, what happened is that when this bid was done, all the companies were asked to provide best and final offer. The final offer was from China North on diesel locomotives, was 30 million plus on 30 million plus per locomotive. And then the second was awarded to General Electric on 27 million plus per locomotive. That is with regard to the diesel locomotives. The electronic locomotive was awarded Bombardier at 32 million plus and China South 32 million plus. Those are the first, best and final offer. When the board approves that now we're taking these things, they now say there must be negotiations. They now send a matter to that board, to the subcommittee, which is now chaired by Sharma, to now continue the negotiation. Yes, we agree with these offers, but we think you can get more, less money out of negotiations with these people. Then the negotiations take place. The second best and final offer is made. They now reduce. China North reduces from 30 million to 27 million. The General Electric reduces from 27 million to 24 million. Those are proper negotiations to say, guys, we're taking you, we prefer you, but we can't afford 30 million. They accept and then they reduce. They go to 27 million, the other one goes to 24 million. The same thing on electrical, they move from 32 to 28, from 32 to 28 million. That's a good thing. Government is saving some money through Transnet. Wait until the crooks come now. In 2014, February, a company comes called Regiments Capital and Trillion. It's a transaction advisor. It's now saying we're coming to advise you on finances and all that. When they now advise Transnet on those transactions, the price changes. It goes up. And it doesn't go up to the original price. The original price on diesel locomotives was 30 million from China North. When Regiments now intervenes, the price moves from 30 million, which went down to 27 million, now back to 36 million. Now Guptas are advising now. And then they come again and say, General Electric, we are now advising, and we are advising under the so-called accelerated delivery schedule. The whole amount, which started at 27 million, went down now, General Electric, to 24 million. After the advice by Regiments, is now 33 million. Passing the original offer, passing the negotiated offer now into something else. But what is even more interesting is that then the negotiations continue. The final offer which comes, it's now something else. After the Guptas intervened, it was 33, General Electric, 36, China North. It changes from all of those amounts to now 42 million per locomotive. If you look at the difference from the original offer, of 30 million to the final accepted offer, there was an additional 11 million. When you go to negotiate the best price everywhere, the price must be reduced. No, they don't reduce the price. They increase the price to a point where 11 million gets added to the original price. All in all, these people have the inflated price is almost 17.4 billion, which has gone into the pockets of these people. So when they say they bought a house in Dubai for 500 million, someone says, how can a person buy a house of 500 million? It's not possible. No one can do that. But if you have pocketed more than 10 million, 500 million, if you have pocketed more than 10 billion, 500 million is nothing. You can afford to buy a house in Dubai. By the way, when I said Zuma went to Dubai into some unofficial trip to visit a factory of manufacturing of weapons, he did not only do that, he also visited the house. This house that you see, he went to visit the house. The good thing with Dubai is that there are cameras every street. So we're now working on trying to get a camera on the street of the house on that day where Zuma went to visit the house to prove that Zuma visited and is well aware of that house. So they made clean 17.4 billion of corruption. At the center of this scheme sum is Malusi Gigaba. He's the one who's at the center. Brian Molefe, Anusi, Iqbal Sharma, Gary Peter. They are the ones who are at the center of stealing money from our people. So what we have tried to do, other documents the lawyers have advised against, we've attached some documents, we gave you copies. The memorandum of the bidding committee which was sent to the board, which shows who bidder number 1, how much is offering, bidder number 2, how much is offering, bidder number 3, how much is offering, bidder number 4, how much they are offering. And those are original figures submitted to the board. We gave you the copy. We gave you the second submission which was made to the which was made to the board. We also gave you attached the Acquisition and Disposal Council, the board of Sharma, how the whole thing started, the best and final offer 27, and then 36, and then ultimately 42 million per locomotive. We also give you a copy of Regiment's Capital, which came in as a financial and risk analyst which was advising on this 1064 procurement negotiations. They too came in to negotiate and help these people get the best price. And the best price was not to be obtained. Instead, the numbers kept on increasing. We gave you some of the excerpts from the minutes of the boards. We also are giving you the schedule which was adopted in terms of this tender, how many trains should be delivered by when. By now, we should be having 356 trains in South Africa. So you are the media, you can write a question to the Transnet to ask how many locomotives have been received, this far because we're supposed to receive so many by now. The other thing is that we attached there a letter of Minister Gigaba to Dinel speaking about locomotive fleet procurement. So the confusion is, why do you write to Dinel about locomotive procurement? But also in the same letter, Minister encouraging Dinel not to cooperate with Minister Pravin Gordhan. They must talk to him directly. They must continue to defy him, and he will handle the minister. Now, what is the logic of the prices increasing? The Chinese don't play when they do business. The Chinese say to you, I'm selling this phone for 10 rand. This is my price. And when you go to the Chinese to negotiate your bribe, and you say, no, out of the 10 rand, you give me 1 rand. The Chinese tell you, I told you my price is 10 rand. So here, you can't touch anything. Plus, at home, they already know that we are offering this at 10 rand. That's how the Chinese business works. Before they bid, their government already knows how much they are going to sell per locomotive. So they say, if you want to make your money, you are going to have to add on top of the 10 rand. So you want money, add another 10 rand, then we sell to you at 20 rand, then you will get something in the added 10 rand. But remember, the added 10 rand, you don't get the whole 10 rand. 28% tax must still go back to our Chinese government, plus the taxes on the side which we must pay. So ultimately, they will get maybe 5 rand or 6 rand, and then that's it. It's done. So the adding of money into these locomotives is because the Chinese were not prepared to budge on their best and final offer. Hence, the additional amount of money put on these things. Now, we are going to ensure that we write to the Chinese government about this corruption. Which one is which one? We are going to write to the Chinese government to investigate these companies which are involved in corruption, China North and China South. There are 2 Chinese companies involved. China South is in electric locomotives, and then China North is in the diesel locomotives. The Chinese, when they find a corrupt fellow in China, they deal with them decisively. Why do they allow their companies to come and corrupt African states? We want to see if the principle of dealing decisively with corruption in China only applies in China, or it applies to the same companies which are involved in corrupt activities outside China by Chinese companies. Bombardier, we are going to write to the Canadian government to investigate the corruption of Bombardier, because we believe that they must deal decisively with this company which came to be involved in corrupt activities. We are going to write to American government, President Trump, to investigate General Electric, because it's an American company. And we are happy that there is an American company now involved in this corruption. At least we know there's going to be an arrest. Because Americans, when you give them jurisdiction when you deal with their companies, but also you give them jurisdiction when you deal with dollar. Once there is dollar involved, you have invited Americans already. Once you deal with their companies, you have invited the Americans already. We are taking these steps because we have lost confidence in the NPA, in the police of South Africa. We have been talking and talking, nothing is happening. And we hope these foreign states will help to deal decisively with these corrupt activities. We are also going to write to the World Bank and bring to the attention of the World Bank the shenanigans of these companies. Although our transaction was not financed by the World Bank, but the World Bank finances similar transactions in many other African states which involve these companies. So we want to say to the World Bank, how can you deal with such corrupt companies? Are they not corrupt in other states where you are dealing with them, where they are handling such transactions? But what is even painful, South Africans, is that there is no single country which has ever bought a single locomotive for this amount. Not even developed countries have paid this amount of money for a locomotive. So who are we to even accept such a price in the presence of transactional advisors? Part of the responsibility of transactional advisors is to go and compare with other countries on how they've dealt with such similar transactions. In this case, it's clear there was no such an activity. If there was, it was ignored. Now, here at home, we will do the usual. We will open criminal cases against the Transnet board, which was there during this transaction. We will immediately approach the court to interdict this tender. And we are calling upon all other bidders who lost to these corrupt companies to join us in trying to interdict this transaction. They must stop being cowards. Remember that there were almost 10 or 8 bidders. Some of the bidders who were excluded, who were disqualified, they were disqualified on the basis of the price. If this one is offering 30 million, it means those who are offering 37 million get automatically disqualified. But now the price has gone past the 37 million, which was used as the basis of disqualifying these companies. They have to come back, not only interdict, they have to sue Transnet and say, you have denied us this opportunity because you said we were more expensive, but at the ultimate end, you ended up paying more. Now, we are going to open a criminal charges against Malusi Gigaba, who is a facilitator of corruption, particularly in the state-owned enterprises, and the emails are speaking to that as well. We are going to open cases against regiments and Trillion Capital, particularly Salim Issa, and report them to the Financial Service Board. We'll open criminal cases against the audit firms, because what happened, they did not, Gupta's did not only buy regiments and Trillion Capital. After doing that, that is before the transaction. After the transaction, they went to buy the auditing firms so that the auditing firms can okay the transactions. So we are getting the names of the auditing firms. We will also report these auditing firms to Independent Regulatory Board of Auditors, because they must be disqualified, particularly because they are involved in corrupt activities. All of that is what we are going to be doing as the EFF. The reality is that we are in possession of the emails. We are in possession of the emails. Our security department is going through each and every email. What we are doing now, we are linking every email to the minister. Every email is going to be linked to the minister, and then once it has been linked to a minister, and once we have completed that process, we will then compile a dossier which will be submitted to Parliament for the impeachment of those ministers, and in particular the president. If Parliament refuses, then we'll be left with no option but to approach the courts to find some recourse with regard to these people who are involved in the emails. When you are sitting at home there enjoying your tea and thinking these emails are fraudulent and not real and they are fake, then ask yourself a question. Why did the president of the IFP confirm the email? The president of the IFP confirms the email. And he says there was nothing untoward. He was meeting people as he was invited. Why did Andabiki the former media guru of Mbalula, confirmed the email and say, yes, I asked 6.3 million from the Guptas. I know Anda very well. And then I called him after that. I say, hey, Anda, hey, you were taking chances. You can see you saw everyone is eating and you were trying your luck as well. And you didn't succeed. He says, there was a genuine program of writing the Youth League book, and all that. But he's not denying the email. Ayanda Dlodlo is not denying the emails. So, why would you even for a second doubt that the emails are not real? When the individuals involved are saying, yes, we know, that's not what it was meant for. So, the question whether emails are real or not is out of the question. The emails are real. Our country has been sold to the highest bidder. If it was another country, not South Africa, where people enjoy protesting through social media, these streets will be occupied. You vote for the ANC because you are part of this crime. You enjoy crime. You celebrate criminals more than responsible and accountable South Africans. You enjoy crime of the ANC and you justify it through the story that they fought for your freedom. Because they fought for your freedom, they've got a right to steal. That's what South Africans are saying. We must stop blaming Zuma. We must start blaming South Africans for doing nothing, even when clear evidence of corruption is presented before them. And those of us who are engaged in the anti-corruption movement will soon get tired, will soon be demoralized. Fatigue will kick in because there is no support from South Africans. We will get tired and the money will dry out because we are using our own money to fight these people. Every time we open a mouth and say we are taking them to court, you must know the EFF money is the one that is going to be used. We are not allowed to even use the money we get from Parliament, by the way, for legal battles. This money we have been taking from our councillors and from our MPs and MPLs is the money that is financing these legal battles. All the senior councils we are using in court, none of them is doing those things called, what do you call them? Nothing of pro bono. None of them. Yes, the lawyers, yes, the junior advocates, sometimes Ngugai Tobishem, he even forgets the invoices and then just pushes. But all the senior councils, none of them does it for free. The only one who did us favor was Lawrence Rhodes with regard to the release of the state capture report, who said to us, guys, I know you say you don't have money, but this is a winnable case. So let's go. I will take the legal costs because you're going to win the legal costs as well. Instead of other lawyers saying the same things, that, okay, let's go, we'll take the legal costs and you will only pay us if you lose. But if we win, we will wait, because payment of the legal costs also comes after a long time. Most of them say, you must pay us now, then you will get the legal costs. And those legal costs, by the time they are paid, were dry. This is not our money. This is not our personal money. We don't gain anything out of this. But the continued reluctance from South Africans to take the bull by its horn, then you must count us out. People will get demoralized. These people we bring to matches, few of them will get tired. And then that's when this thing becomes Banana Republic officially. And then it becomes another failed African state. This battle and all of these exposés we are bringing forward to you, it is an attempt to prevent South Africa becoming another failed state. We do this with risking our lives and the lives of our families. We risk our lives because we love this country. We're not going to sit back and allow these people to do as they wish. If we don't act on this thing, these things were given by people in Transnet who are not happy. But if the whistleblowers are going to give us information and no one acts on this information, they too will get tired of giving us this information. Why are the Guptas not charged? Ladies and gentlemen and South Africans, I was charged myself, and one of the charges was that I influenced tenders without any evidence. Now there is clear evidence by ministers who have, I was charged by NPA for that I influenced tenders. And they could not produce a single proof how I influenced any tender. But here is a proof of email where appointments of board members is influenced, appointment of ministers is influenced, appointment of preferred bidders is influenced. Here is evidence. And then all we hear from the captured Sean Abrams is that, no, we're looking into this and all that. There's nothing. Okay, let's leave the emails and the Gupta's evidence. Why is there no single person charged for Nkandla corruption till today? The ANC agreed there was corruption. Ultimately, Zuma agreed there was corruption. And all of that. No one has been charged. Even when there is consensus that there was corruption, no one has been charged. For how long should we continue to expose these things? These people who are exposing this information, they will get tired because nothing happens. Not even to juniors. Not even to juniors. Nothing happens. We are rated amongst the top 10 corrupt countries. Yet there has never been a successful conviction of high-profile corrupt individual in the past 10 years since Zuma or Mbeki have taken over this state. 10 years. Since 2007. All of those who are arrested were under Mbeki, Jegis Levy, may his soul rest in peace, Shabir, and Tony Ngeni, and all of that. It was under Mbeki. 2007 till to date, no one has been prosecuted successfully under Zuma, yet corruption levels have increased in South Africa. This is a message that says corruption pays in South Africa. Unless you are opposing Zuma, unless you are not in Zuma's camp, you will be charged and go to prison. But if you are Zuma, ANC high profile, you are not going to be charged anyhow. You know, I once had a discussion with John Block, who once said to me when he was in trouble, hey, you know, I need the numbers of the Guptas, man. I was told these people will rescue me. I must go and talk to them and all that. The message I told John then was, if the Guptas can't help Zuma with his legal matters, how can they help you? When? How can they help you? They can't help Zuma with his own problems. But that's how everyone, this list you see of corrupt people, it's nothing. They've captured almost everyone in the ANC. Almost everyone in the ANC. I mean, we must not ignore the stories that they tried to do some business with the Mbeki ministers. You remember, what is his name? Aesop and all of that. And then there was another story that they tried to do business with the wife of my favorite president, Kgalema Motlanthe. So they've got their hand everywhere. That's why this commission is very important and very urgent. It's very important and very urgent. If President Zuma believes that he's got nothing to hide, he doesn't lose anything by not appointing a commission of inquiry himself. He's actually going to appoint it because Thuli says the Chief Justice must recommend one judge to Zuma, Zuma must appoint. What is his problem? Why does he want to appoint a judge when he is implicated? He should be the one that says, I can't appoint a judge. In the same way he said in the papers about Nkandla, I cannot investigate myself. Why does he want to investigate himself now? Because he's got every reason to panic. There is a bidder on the locomotives who was mad by the Guptas outside the country trying to do a deal with Canadians for the provision of the same things. Bombardier. They met a guy outside who was going to meet Bombardier. The Gupta said to him, if you know what is good for you, you will leave this thing, or you're going to do it through us. This guy has asked us not to mention his name, but he's prepared to go to the Commission of Inquiry and give this testimony. And if he doesn't go to the Commission of Inquiry, he has given us a mandate to mention his name publicly. That he's the one who has mad. He's a businessman, highly respected businessman, who says, they met me in Canada. When on my way to meet Bombardier, they said, if you want to do this, you're doing it through us. Otherwise, you are out. It's not only him. A lot of people are saying, we are looking for the Commission of Inquiry. We want to share the information. And we are prepared to take this person to the judge president. The lawyers do that all the time. The lawyers can ask the judge president to meet the person in camera for this person to testify that we are more than ready to testify in the Commission of Inquiry. Please speed up the process. We want this Commission of Inquiry. Otherwise, the road is continuing. They are buying everything now. They've got all the money they want. They are buying everything. They are buying opposition. They are forming political parties. They are forming fake news websites. People were saying we are bought by London, but they forgot to mention that their communication strategy is written by London themselves. You will never find a single of us in the emails. You will never find a single of us in any transaction of anyone. We say this without any fear of contradiction. Some of us are students of President Motlanthe, who said to us, that which you do in private, you must be prepared to repeat it in public, because it will eventually come out. Malusi, Zuma, all of them should stop denying the emails and take responsibility, because it will ultimately be confirmed that they are part of these emails. We will prove it beyond any reasonable doubt. So the sooner they come clean, the better. Look at the Deputy Minister of Finance, corrupt fellow to the extreme, with a corrupt family, the younger brother, the sister, the siblings, the grandchildren, and the extended family, the in-laws, the mother-in-law, everything. All of them are corrupt like that. And then, you know, psychological warfare which they are waging is very powerful. This guy, by virtue of being a deputy minister, he's automatically the chairperson of the PIC. But Malusi releases a statement that he has appointed deputy minister a chairperson of PIC. He's trying to play with the mind of this guy, that it's me who appoints you, otherwise without me you can't be a chairperson of the PIC, which is not true. It's automatic. But they are already saying to him, hey, It's us who appointed you. It's law. But they issue a statement that Malusi has appointed this guy. Because this guy, everywhere he goes, he must know I'm appointed chairperson by my boss, Malusi Gigaba. And then everything my boss says, I shall obey and implement. That's what they do with all of them. That's how they talk to them. No, I'm appointing you this. I'm appointing you that. So that the people who sit on those positions of responsibility, they owe their existence to those people who have appointed them. So this thing, corruption, is extreme. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Sincere apologies for distributing the evidence during your address. But members of the media, you have been given, all of you, the document that the President was speaking to in relation to Transnet. It has page numbers. Those who have not received it yet, it's still coming to you. Yeah, it will come to you. Now, I'm going to attempt the first round of questions, hoping that you have the document, you have the statement, and you are able to speak intelligently in your questions. Let's take the first round of hands. It might be the only round. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's start with these 4 hands. Yes, number 1.
Philip Gray from the Managing Audience. You talk about a number of actions that you're launching in courts, you're going to foreign governments. It seems like Parliament is not part of that list. Have you similarly lost faith in Parliament as a direct form of action the way that you have with eNCA and the police?
Okay, number 2.
My name is Ryan Mansami. I'm from the Daily Maverick. All the actions that you have spelled out and the actions you have taken up to now, including boycotting the president's actions in Parliament, the protest marches, all of these seem not to have an impact on President Zuma and his behavior. It seems at the moment he is untouched and unmoved, and from what is happening in the ANC, it looks as if the only way he will be removed is when a new president is elected in December. By resorting to these actions that you're now spelling out, which includes appealing to foreign governments to intervene, is there a sense of hopelessness in the processes within the country? That you've basically reached a state where there's nothing more you can do, and that the president is virtually untouchable? Thank you.
Number 3.
You were speaking quite passionately about what you want South Africans to do to contribute to this. Can you maybe give a bit more information? Say someone is watching and they maybe want to participate. What is it that you want South Africans to do except being outraged? I mean, what can they physically do to assist?
Number 4.
Mr. Malema, it's Chula Sizwe from eNCA. I've got 2 questions. One is related to what you've released and another is a political question. The question on what you've released today is, I see there's a lot of documents attached to it, and of course it adds to the body, that's our body of work that's already out there, the emails, etc. You're saying the emails are authentic, and there's no question about that, and indeed they've not been refuted thus far. But in terms of passing the standard of not being hearsay evidence in a judicial process or in a legal process, how confident that the emails and the documents that you have attached here will pass that muster? As in, are there people who would be willing to come and attest to the veracity of those documents? My second question is a political one. We're seeing the situation in Nelson Mandela Bay, in that coalition. It seems to be getting out of hand. Between the UDM and the DA. Of course, we are not coalition partners there. But speak to me broadly about your sense of the workings of coalition governments. Is the condition right, given what we're seeing there, and also your concerns about Helen Zille and how she's being treated by the DA?
President, those are the first 4. Don't we take more
Well, we said we are going to Parliament, my brother. Let's come back to the same press conference. Yeah, I said we are going to Parliament, we are preparing the emails, and then the dossier will be presented with everything else to Parliament. And if Parliament fails to act, we'll then go to the courts to find a recourse. And then we'll add to our impeachment case. All of this actually add to our impeachment case. Ranjeni, I don't think you're correct that there is no impact. Remember when we started these things, we were lone voices. It was, and we were called all sorts of names, gossipers, disgruntled, and all types of things, including by those who are joining us now, including those who are saving their lives now. We are now rescuing them. They called us all types of names. And it's not about Zuma. It's about getting South Africans to be conscious and to protect their own pairs. And we're beginning to see the results. And that's what, you know, politics are about. It's not about quick response. We're going to have to work hard. And there must be a response. Because if we don't get a response, then all those things I spoke about will start kicking in, where people are demoralized and all type of things. So there's now action beginning to come in. I mean, to get COSA to start pronouncing against this guy, to get the Communist Party to start pronouncing against this guy, to now get MK Council, to get the stalwarts and veterans to repeat after EFF. You must say, we're now speaking this. They are all going to speak like they are the ones who discovered it. So all of that, it's a good sign that, remember, we don't care about Zuma. We want to fix this country so that those who come after Zuma do not repeat a similar mistake. And the only practical way to teach them is by arresting Zuma. Deal with one to educate others. So we must arrest Zuma and then teach others who are coming that they must not repeat a similar mistake. Guys, we're talking about 17 billion here, 17 billion. Only in Transnet. We have not gone to Dinel. We have not gone to ESCOM. We have not gone to SAA run by Zuma's girlfriend. We have not gone to Prasa. You know locomotives of Prasa. There you don't have to even have a headache. You know already what's happening there. So we have not gone to SASA. Because the SASA thing, we just hear about this artificial corruption. We have not gone into details of who is getting what. We have now given you emails. Now we're dealing with monies now. We're moving from emails to money. How the monies are being moved and all of that. So the authenticity of emails is no longer a discussion. You can't say it's hearsay. When a media outlet says there is this email, and then Anda comes and confirms, what is a hearsay about that? When Anda says, yes, it's my email. The media outlet says, yes, the email. President of the IFP comes and says, yes, it's my email. The authenticity is no longer an issue here. They are real. They have been proven. We want our people to go to the streets. We want our people to picket. And they must not go on the EFF's invitation. They must go on their own. It must not be politically led type of a campaign. It must not be led by NGOs, because most of these NGOs are financed by government, I mean by a business, which says to them, one of the NGOs was saying to us, no, we can't protest on Wednesday because we can't get the support of business. I'm trying to promote EFF here, but these things are too hot. Yes. I'll end up collapsing here with this advert of the EFF. Now, NGOs are given money by business. So One of the NGOs was saying to us, don't march on Wednesday because we will not get the support of business. Business will not agree to close and shut down and all that. Let's march on a Friday. So we can operate like that. We cannot be run by business. In the same way, we are not run by government. There's no business that controls our action. So we want a mass-led type of a protest, which it will not be politically aligned, which will not be NGO business aligned. It will be genuine concern by South Africans. It doesn't matter whether they are 10, it doesn't matter whether they are 20, they just go and occupy some bridge with placards. That's what we are calling for. Every individual in South Africa should say, not in my name. I cannot sit back and allow the Guptas to steal from our country. I don't understand why there's not been, an occupation of Gupta's house. They tried to do it with some fellow South Africans, and then security marching glance of Gupta's called Land First, what first? And then funding by Gupta's first went to occupy, went to fight with those people. And I was saying to the leadership of the EFF, maybe we must try and occupy it and see if the Gupta's funding first will come, so that we teach it a lesson. But again, when we do that, it's going to be seen as a political opportunism and all sorts of things. So we're saying South Africans lead us so that it becomes a genuine program of fellow South Africans. In Nelson Mandela, the whiteness of that guy comes out from time to time. That's what we know about the DA. And it's not tolerant to this other Chacharach one of the UDM, because that one of UDM Lena is too forward, man. He's too forward and is engaged in some things which are not explainable. Now, there was a political process set up by political parties which are involved in a coalition, which set aside a 3-man team to go and do an investigation. Even before that team brings its conclusions or findings to the political party leaders, the DA is already dealing with that guy of the UDM. Our problem again in this country is the DA. The DA is too forward and doesn't take advice. They don't take advice. The DA, many a times we said to them, withdraw the motion of no confidence against Zuma. Let's go and take a secret ballot in court, we'll come back. They refused. Only now they are doing it. You know why they are doing it now? Because they depend on our votes in other municipalities. They don't want to offend us. But the arrogance of the DA, South Africans will see it. You see it in Helen Zille now. The DA is a big problem. It doesn't treat those partners in the coalition as equal partners. And they think they've got our support, therefore they can ill-treat the UDM and other people. They don't know that if the UDM gets out of that coalition, out of bitterness of whiteness, when the voting comes of motion of no confidence and voting of a new mayor, we are going to fold our arms in Nelson Mandela. If they don't change this attitude they are displaying of white arrogance, they must be rest assured we will not vote with them. We are not saying the UDM guy is right. We are not saying Trollip is right. We're saying respect the internal processes of the coalition. Stop being arrogant. We don't owe DA anything. We didn't take anyone's money, Papa. Now we're free souls. We don't care. We can just fold our arms just for controlling. You control. Just fold our arms and then the mayor is removed. Just to prove to you that we didn't take anyone's money for anything. That which we are doing is the collective decision of this leadership. Yeah. We don't owe DA nothing. DA is going to fail the 2019 project of removing ANC from government if they go on like this, disrespecting a coalition partners, but also allowing Helen Zille to become Zuma of DA. Helen Zille, if she was indeed thinking she's treated unfairly, she must resign and still take the DA to court, just to clear her name. But to allow her party, which she formed and said she loves so much, to deteriorate in her name, then she's not different from Jacob Zuma. And she's compromising the 2019 project of removing the ANC. Now Musishem, he goes and suspends Helen Zille through a press conference. And then the boss, James, says, it's not done like that. Let's give her 48 hours. Imagine you are a leader of a party. And every time we say, Musi is not leading this thing, people say, hey, leave Muruti. It's not about being Muruti. He's a good guy. Shemuna Pilwebuts, he's not a trouble. But those whites, they are giving him a tough time there. So they are undermining him. They are undermining him. And Helen Zille is prepared to collapse this project because of her ego, not without a fight. She wants to live up to the title of the book, not without a fight. Even when that compromises the DA, and all of us who are supporting, who are voting with the DA in the municipalities, they say to us, yeah, what are you saying? Helen Zille says colonialism was super. What are you saying? They are undermining our effort. She's undermining our effort to take out our government from the hands of the corrupt ANC, which is captured by the Guptas. This is a project of removing this corruption. She doesn't care about it. And let the DA, the DA must stop disrespecting us. How do you say you have suspended Helen Zille from DA activities and then you leave her as a premier? How is Helen Zille going to get a mandate if she's not attending DA activities? Because Helen Zille is supposed to attend the caucus, question her DA mandate, advise on how best it can be implemented. How is she going to do that? Who is Helen Zille representing in the Western Cape legislature and as a premier? Because our people, James Self says people elected Helen Zille. That's not true. Our people elected DA. We don't have a system where individuals get elected in South Africa. They want Zuma removed, but they can't apply the same principle to their own. If Helen Zille thinks, well, I didn't do anything wrong, you can't impeach me, then let's leave the impeachment. Let's use the motion of no confidence. You don't have to do anything wrong in terms of your oath of office or anything. Even if we don't like your dress sense because it doesn't dress properly, we just say no. We don't like your dress sense, therefore we're passing a motion of no confidence against you. It can be done. You don't have to break any oath of office. You don't have to be found to have done anything wrong. Just what the party thinks it's compromising its image, it's enough to pass a motion of no confidence against Helen Zille. So the DA is playful again. They must be warned, and we do so now. You will remain with Western Cape, with Johannesburg, Tshwane, and PE gone. Because we are not going to associate with a party that protects colonialism and apartheid. Be warned. We are not going to vote with a party that loves individuals more than South Africans. You are not different from the ANC. You deserve each other. Therefore, we are 5 to withdrawing our votes in those municipalities if you don't suspend Helen Zille as the premier. We're going to fold our arms. Be warned. We're not going to allow that nonsense to continue unchallenged. If Helen Zille is so prepared to cause DA all these municipalities, let her remain the premier of Western Cape. Let her remain. The same thing we demand from the ANC. The same thing we march together as opposition parties. We must demand from each other. We should demand of the same qualities from each other. Helen Zille says, no, Malema has been making the same racial connotation statements. Yes, those are EFF policies. That's what BFF believes in. So I'm not offending the EFF. You offended DA. That which you think is a racial statement to you may not be a racial statement to the EFF. It might be a more revolutionary statement to the EFF, and EFF encourages its president to say more of the same statements. These are two different parties. So the DA is now in agreement with all South Africans that Helen Zille said offensive things, and therefore they are dealing with her. Let her resign as the premier of Western Cape. Let her resign as a premier of Western Cape, and let the DA deal with her. If the DA is not going to deal with her, they must know that will not be associated with a party that is prepared to protect an individual who is damaging the good image of the Western Cape as a province and the entire South Africa. So they've got themselves to blame. And when we stop voting for DA, we will not vote for anyone. We will abstain. So if the DA has got the necessary majority, let it win in those municipalities through their own votes. If the ANC has got majority in those municipalities, let them win through their own votes. We thought we can give this DA a chance so that we've got a different government which fights corruption. But for them to perpetuate white supremacy and arrogance, including to undermine Musi, my brother, will defend you from EFF side. That's what we do, we defend blacks. To undermine Musi like that, they must be rest assured we are 5-2. I never said we are pulling out. We get 5-2 pulling. Malema said we are getting out of voting for DA. I'm saying we are almost there if they don't resolve the Western Cape issue. Yeah.
Okay, final round of questions. I'm going to take hands. 1, Natasha. 2, sister. 3. Is there no one else?
Yeah. I didn't answer your question.
Just let the other colleagues go. I would like you to come back to this issue of these documents in terms of their legal standing. You did answer it, but I wanted, as it relates to the legal processes where you're now facing a judicial officer.
No, we're going to hand them over. These are the basis from which investigating officers must start. So we're going to hand them over. The investigating officers will do their proper work, obtain them properly through the legal system. And if they are not forthcoming because we know they are in existence, we can always use our lawyers to demand of such information. It is a public information. This is a public entity. There is nothing which they must cook and hide from the public. That's why we can come with them like this in public.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll give the court's emails. The court will also engage in its own process to check the authenticity of those emails. We have to start somewhere, and this is the beginning.
You'll be the last. Is there no one else? I'm closing after here. Okay, number 1.
I'm Natasha from the Business Day. I wanted to check whether you really have faith that a judicial commission of inquiry, particularly one as described by the ANC as recommended by its president from 1994, would speedily resolve the state capture issue, when we've had quite a bad track record of
No, we don't want that one. We're not talking about that. We don't want ANC state capture inquiry. We want Tulima Donse, the one of Thuli Madonsela.
I think that's the one that the president is talking about when he says he agrees that.
No, he's talking about something else. They want to investigate from 1652 and all those things. We are not about that. The terms of reference of the inquiry should be based on the findings of Thuli Madonsela.
So you don't want it broad?
We wanted Gupta.
Yeah.
Gupta.
Specific.
Not Oppenheimer, not Rupert, not Minel. If ANC wants inquiry on Minel or Rupert, let them ask for that. Ours, which we agreed, we made a submission to Thuli, and we said part of what we suggest Thuli must recommend is the establishment of the Commission of Inquiry on the Gupta's state capture. That's what we're asking for, not any other thing. Anything which is not Thuli related, we know it's a concocted arrangement which is going to be used to just clean people, and that's it.
Are you done, Natasha? Okay.
Remember, we must not forget these things. In the coalition of the municipalities, in the discussions we had with the ANC, remember our condition to the ANC was that establish a Gupta Commission of Inquiry. Then Jesse Juard, the beneficiary of Gupta, in the top 6, and the source, the leak of the Gupta, where those things you see on NN7, and when you say NN7 is authentic about ANC information, and working New Age is JC. Yes, Jesse Duarte. She's the one who's feeding NN7 those things. She worked for them, by the way. She worked for New Age after she fought with Lakela in the presidency, and Lakela fired her because people get fired by Lakela in the presidency. She fired her in the same way she fired this God, fired her, and then she went to work for Gupta's New Age. So she's a source. In that meeting, we said Gupta inquiry, Commission of Inquiry. The ANC came back and said, we agree with you on the inquiry. But Jesse Duarte was saying, the inquiry from since 1652 and all that. We said, hey, JC, let's not waste each other's time here. Ne? We're not here to play games. We're saying Gupta, state capture, Commission of Inquiry. That's what we said to her. We didn't waste each other's time. We told her, if you want to investigate Rupert, oh, we welcome that. We were so happy. Let it be a separate commission. Don't mix these things. Guptas are going to have their own nice commission of inquiry, uninterrupted, not mixed with anything. That's what we're asking for. And that's what must happen.
Number 2.
Hi, my name's Jessica from the Malema Guardian. So far as the state capture, your attempt to expedite the investigation or the state capture commission of inquiry is concerned, at the moment we have a situation where the enablers of state capture in the public sector have been unmasked by the EFF, by the media, and obviously by the emails. But we have a whole horde of runners and big companies that continue to do business with government, that continue to have their banking facilities sort of operate as if things are normal. Is there anything that the EFF has considered that may assist to kind of bring some sense of action to that?
Well, we're saying we're trying to, amongst other things, interdict this Transnet locomotive deal. Those are part of some actions we're taking. They are expensive to fight corporate, combined with the state-owned companies, combined with government. It's a lot of money. So we can only take one issue at a time depending on our financial strength. In the practical way of doing things, we're trying to stop this, and we agree with you. There are so many of them who got tenders in a wrong way. And the only way to stop them is by, lawfully by the way, is by going to court and start interdicting those things and using this emails and evidence to stop those transactions. That's why the EFF calls for all those who are bidding to start taking actions themselves. It can't be an EFF only type of a run program. It's costly. Let everyone, particularly those who are bidding, they've got money themselves. But because you know capital is a system of benefiting parasites, they are scared to take on the state. What if I take on the state and it means I'm completely out in the next tender and all those stuff? That's why they are scared. But those who are courageous enough, we're calling upon them to start interdicting any transaction that involves these corrupt activities which have been exposed. We are beginning a process to do that, and we hope that other political parties as well will join in interdicting other transactions which are questionable, and in that way will put a stop to some of these things. And not only that, we can even apply for freezing of accounts, for freezing of assets of those people. It's a costly exercise which is going to need a lot of resources. EFF alone cannot afford it. We are calling upon the private sector to join in. We are calling upon the NGOs, calling upon the churches to start interdicting procurement and tenders that are involved in these shenanigans. If it can be proved, or there is some, reasonable evidence which shows that there's wrongdoing here, let's take them on. Let's start interdicting them. Let us make sure that these things are stopped. In the same way, those people who stopped the nuclear in Cape Town, those are some of the welcomed actions we need to engage in. And then at the same time, we need to mobilize our people for mass actions.
Thank you, President. Ranjan, you are the last one. Chulasis, you are filing it.
I'm fine.
Okay.
I noticed that there seemed to be some exchange of friendly messages between you and Mr. Fikile Mbalula. And then there was an interview that Solly Mahaila did on 702 where he referred to you as a comrade for alerting South Africans to the risk he was facing. Now you've referred to, you've just stated that you will defend Musi as your brother. In the midst of this crisis, is there space for negotiations, talks, outside formal politics to try and deal with this crisis between like-minded people who are against the president?
Well, it's very difficult to meet ANC people because they're extremely scared. They live in fear and they're not genuine. I've never had the problems with Mbalula. I've always appreciated him and I've always spoke very well about him. But where he makes nonsense, I take him on. And that has always been our relationship, even when we're still in the ANC. We'll stay until very early hours of the morning, debating between the two of us, just the two of us, and disagreeing on a lot of things. I even publicly gave an example that Mbalula called when we were about to remove President Mbeki and said, please, Julius, don't do it. You must oppose the removal of President Mbeki. Let's wait for him to finish. And we had a huge debate, me and him, about that. Our relationship has always been about that. But I've never met him since I got expelled from the ANC, except to meet him in public places like, not necessarily public spaces, in weddings and parties and clubs, because I was with him in not necessarily with him, I bumped into him in a black office wedding. I can't say I was with him because those ANC people will slaughter him for being with me. And then they will begin to say, he's the one who's giving Julius information. I've got no such a relationship with him. So there's no space to discuss those issues with ANC chaps. And there's no chap that irritates me like a chap that when you meet, He says, let's put the phones that side. Behaving like you are a serious fellow. Taking themselves too serious. I don't meet such people. If you meet me, we put our phones here. We talk. We're not scared of anything. We're not committing crimes. We're not meeting to overthrow government. We're meeting to rescue, you know, South Africa. The same thing with Solima Paila. I mean, I've never been friends with Solima Paila as a person. I grew up in the ANC, so I know all those chaps. I know all of them, literally all of them. And then I'm talking leadership. Why are you doing your face like that? I'm talking leadership, not some arrivalist and Zwane is a small boy. I don't know Zwane. I know Zwane's bosses, who is Makashule and all that. You see, it's not Zwane. And then I know Soli. I've always been fighting with Soli in the meetings and all that. But, you know, our history is such that we in the Youth League and the Communist Party, we never had fundamental problems. We had problems when the Communist Party began to be factional and then align itself with Zuma like that without any ideological clarity as to why Zuma. But almost all issues, you know, when the ANC went for bilateral meetings with the Communist Party, I will come with the ANC from the NWC, but I will be on the side of the Communist Party against the ANC. The same thing with COSATU. When COSATU comes, I will be with COSATU, yet I'm a delegation of the ANC. I will be with COSATU on issues, because we have always found each other. So that has always been our relationship with Soli. So I was not doing Soli any favor. I will do that with any South African who's going to be assassinated by these people. The Deputy President of the EFF warned these people in Parliament that after stealing money, he's going to start killing you one by one. And then they charged him for that because he was telling the truth. They want to kill Soli. It's not a joke. Because Soli, and you know, hey, the crisis we find ourselves in end up forcing us to praise hypocrites, man. Because Soli is the only one in the whole alliance. The whole alliance. Soli is the only one who's genuinely fighting against the state capture. Blade is pretending. Blade doesn't mean anything that comes from his clean mouth, if he's clean. Blade is not telling the truth. It's not genuine. Blade is the man who chases positions. He chases positions. And then when he wants to sound radical, he says, oh, they can take these positions. Why are you not handing it over if you don't believe in that position?
Why are you saving a corrupt government?
Why are you saving a corrupt government? Go resign and come to Parliament. And then do what Pravin is doing now in Parliament. Take the corrupt government head on. There are a lot of methods of fighting a corrupt government. You don't have to serve it. But because Blade likes those things, he even gained weight from saving those people. He will never resign from that. It's only Soli, and then that's why Zuma is having a headache from Soli. Zuma today complains about Soli the same way he used to complain about me. That's how I knew he's going to kill him. Zuma used to complain about us from here to America and coming back in the plane. Every conversation Zuma is having today about what must happen to the ANC and the alliance, Soli is at the center of that conversation. Soli is featuring the same way I used to feature in Zuma's articulation of the problems of the ANC, and that's why we were expelled. But he can't expel Soli. Because Soli is Communist Party. He has got no control over that. So if he cannot expel him, the only option available is to get rid of him. They will make him disappear. So, and I know the genuine people who are in the Zuma circles who said to me, we are worried about how he speaks about Soli. And we must find a way of warning Soli to be safe. So I told Soli's family that Soli must not go and have a chisanyama. Anyway, he must go to a rally with bodyguards, go home. Go to meetings, go home. Until after December. That's 6 months. At least the kids and the wives, they will enjoy him for these 6 months. He must not go anywhere. That's his life. Wherever he goes, he must be in the company of someone. When they come to protest, like when they were protesting at his house, the plan was that they were going to protest, knowing Soli is going to go out and say, no, I must talk to them, they are comrades. And then one of those people will shoot him, and then accountability is going to be, no, he's some fanatic, he's some hobo, he didn't have a mandate, and therefore he's going to serve life imprisonment and all that. That was the plan. When he gets out, a Zuma fanatic, it must be like a Zuma fanatic, then went for him. In the same way they wanted to shoot him during the Chrysanis Memorial. Why did Zuma speak first, and even after speaking first, left Chrysanis Memorial? Because Zuma speaks last. Doesn't happen like that. And in a place where Zuma changes the arrangement and then leaves, solely there is an attempt on his life in the absence of the president. And remember, once the president leaves, the security collapse. Why? Why did it happen like that? In a place where Soli was almost taken, why did the protocol change? In whose interest did they change the protocol? Soli is a well-trained soldier. He knows and understands what I'm talking about. He knows and understands what I'm talking about. He must not eat any food provided by these people. Not in any event, not anywhere, not even in the Communist Party. Because in the Communist Party, there are people like Butimaname, who are saving Zuma's interest. Yes. So Soli can't even trust some of the Communist Party people. Please, Mama, prepare meal for Soli when he goes to a meeting. Must eat the meal prepared at home. Must bring his own water. Scarf tea. Soli atwara scarf tea. And stop eating anything offered by these people. It happens all the time the ANC goes to a conference. He knows that. At least for 6 months. From there, he can regain back his life. They will all be normal after December. All of us, including the leadership of the opposition, particularly the EFF, which is the main threat to the ANC, must be extremely careful. I'm not saying people must be paranoid. We are entering the period of madness. We're entering the period of madness. So, what you do with whoever, you must be careful. Well calculated moves. And please, most of the time, let's spend it in the presence of the masses. The masses are our shield. And then in the absence of the masses, let's be at home. If we can't be at home, let's be in the company of someone. It's becoming dangerous now. If they can eat their own, who are we? The EFF is the only practical threat to the ANC. We are the only threat to the ANC, even in 2019. You know the ANC, Lindiwe Zulu, Batabile Dlamini, Lindiwe Sisulu, Nomvula Mgwenyani, Weekend Specially, KB, Buti Malamela, Aaron Mutwaledi, no, Aaron, at least Aaron. No, I'm talking about these ministers, right? All of them who are supporting Zuma, they do so because they are not personally affected. Even after losing metros, they are still ministers, they are still getting the same salary. Even when the rent falls, they are still ministers, they are still getting the salary. Even when there is a recession, they're still getting the salary and houses and trips. So all of this doesn't affect them personally. That's why they can't take action against Zuma personally. They can't take a personal stand against Zuma. They are going to do that the day the ministerial positions are gone. They are like, hey, this Zuma has cost us, man. As long as it doesn't affect their pocket, as long as it doesn't affect them individually, they never take any action. So let's teach them the lesson in 2019. They must be punished so that they come to appreciate that their overprotection of Zuma has costed them Gauteng, Northwest, Limpopo, Natal, South Africa. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and the press is adjourned.